Hello, my name is Rachel Smith. I'm a customer service supervisor here with Masterbooks. I'm also the co-author for Language Lessons for Living Education, levels 7 and 8. In this session, I want to talk to you about tools for your teacher and student success with language arts. So showing you some things that we have available already for our language arts curriculum and give you some tools that will help you and your student both be successful with our language arts curriculum. So with our language arts, we have a few different options for you. At the elementary level, we have our language lessons for living education. And then moving on into upper elementary, middle school, we have writing strands as well as language lessons for living education. And then as we keep moving up into the high school years, we have language lessons for living education, we have writing strands, and we have our Jensen series. So we have different options for you based upon your student and what is the best fit for your student, what type of learning style is better for your student. So that's where we want to begin. With our language arts series, we do have a guide for you to help you pick the correct series for your student, as well as getting them in the correct academic level. That is the absolute best place to start, where to begin. So I want to show you, I'm looking here on a mobile device, and I'm on the language arts page on our website. So if you go to our website and you click the Homeschool tab at the top, and then you choose subject under that and language arts, this is going to come up on your mobile device as well as on your if you're on your personal computer. At the very top here, I'm not sure if you can see, but right here it says, where should my child start? That is where you want to begin. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to open up our placement guide here that you can see now. This placement guide, I'll scroll a little bit here for you, but this placement guide here in the purple is going to go through all of our language lessons for a living education series and explaining that a little more. And then you're going to get down to the blue, and that's going to be our writing strands series. I'm going to scroll, and then you're going to see the green, and that's our Jensens. So all three of our what we have available for language arts is covered in this placement guide. So in the placement guide, you're going to have multiple columns. That first column is going to tell you the age and grade that we recommend that course for your student. So it'll have the title of the course and the age or grade range that we recommend. That's our suggestion for when you should use that. And then the next column is going to be what your student should have already mastered. So it's going to list things that these are the things your student should know already before going into that level. Then the last column, that goes over everything that's discussed and taught in that level. So that middle column is going to help you use that as your guide to determine what your student already knows, what your student has already mastered, to help you pick that best level there academically. And then that last level is going to show you again what your student is going to learn and be taught that year. A lot of that placement is going to be based upon their writing skills. And so look through that. That is the absolute best place to begin with our language arts curriculum. And that's going to help you and your student right off the bat have some tools for success, because you should definitely make sure that you have the right fit for your student and the right academic level. If not, we're already frustrated before we begin. So we want to try to avoid that by having you start right off the bat with that placement guide. And again, that's called Where Should My Child Start? And that's going to help you the most. Then moving on, maybe you have chosen what you want to do, and maybe you picked writing strands. If you've chosen writing strands for your student, the writing strands has another additional test for you to give for your student to help you pick the correct level of writing strands, because we have 6 levels of that. So the Where Should My Child Start is more of a placement guide for you as the parent. It's not something your student is going to have to do to determine that correct level for them. But writing strands does have something for your student to do once you choose writing strands, if that's what you choose. And so you'll follow the steps there on that writing strands placement test. And that is linked right there on that Where Should My Child Start as well. And it gives you that further instruction. If you're choosing writing strands, you want to have your student do this, and they'll have to do a little writing assignment, and you're going to do some evaluating. And again, we'll walk you through that. That's the absolute best place to start if you decide for writing strands. Then, as well with writing strands, we have a writing strands teaching companion. This is something that many parents will often just miss with our writing strands series, because you do have that student book, whether it is beginner 1 and 2 or intermediate 1 and 2 or advanced 1 and 2. And within that textbook is everything that you need to give you the overview of that particular book, as well as give you the schedule for that book and all of your student worksheets, assignments, any type of answer keys and things that you would need. They are all included within that one book. But this Writing Strands Teaching Companion is something that you would purchase one time, and it goes with all of our levels of Writing Strands. This right here is a parent's best friend when you are doing the Writing Strands series. This teaching companion gives you first an overview of each one of, the entire series, and what the goals are of the series and how things are approached, what the mindset is behind it. It's going to give you some tips right off the beginning about helping your student write. And there are going to be some things for you as the teacher to be watching for, because with our Writing Strand series, you have 1 week of writing and 1 week of literature. So during that writing week, it does require you as the parent to be involved with editing and helping them through that writing process. And so this book, this teaching companion, gives you as the parent the tools that you need in order to help your student, and also in order to grade their writing and edit their writing. It's going to walk you through some basic, some of the top writing struggles that students have. It's going to give you as the parent like a crash course refresher on some of those things, so you can be watching for them as well as help your student. So it's going to prepare you and give you the tools you need to help your student and to correct their work and to help them move forward and bringing in and correcting those things with grammar and writing. And then it's going to give you some top things, some little helps with things you should be watching for in their writing, like subject-verb agreement and punctuation, awkward writing, overused phrases, things like that they might be doing, dangling modifiers, words they've left out, all of those things, and it's going to help you know how to watch for that. After you go through all of those in this teaching companion, there's going to then be a part that I think is great for the reading week, the literature week. It's going to give you the goals and objectives of that reading week with those assignments. One thing that I'm going to try to show you here is, as you can see here on the bottom, hopefully you're able to see that, it's giving us here objectives for ages 7 and above. And it's giving you some tips and things for what you're doing with them in their reading at ages 7 and above. Then on this next page, you go through all of that. And then here it has objectives for ages 12 and above. So it's helping you know, based upon the age of your student and which level of writing strand you're in, what you should be watching for, what the objectives are for their literature and their reading week. It's going to walk you through different genres of literature and explain those to you, help you as the parent understand them. It's going to also walk you through different different literary words and vocabulary words and things that you might interact with in the assignments. So you as the parent can fully explain those to your student and know what the assignment is asking. It's got here a section that is extra help with meanings for the young ones, okay? And this one to me is helpful very helpful for the parent as well, so that you are fully versed yourself with what your student's assignment is and what's expected of them. Then I'm going to flip through here so I can move on to some other things here with you. It's going to go through plot, setting, time, all of that with you as the parent to help you through that literature week. Then you also have a section here that's going to go through the point of view. As your student is trying to read through their literature, there's going to be assignments where they're having to give the point of view of how the book is written or how the character is portrayed. And there's a few pages explaining that and helping you as the parent understand that. That's a very helpful section, and one that we do get some questions about frequently is point of view, and it's right here in this teaching companion to help you. Then there's also a section on spelling rules and how to walk your student through those spelling rules if you notice that they are misspelling things or frequently, and you're having some of the same rules that they keep missing. The spelling rules are here for you to go through. And then we have a section here on teaching root words, if you need to go over some root words, prefixes, suffixes. Then also commonly confused words. That will help you through the writing portion as well as through the reading portion to understand those commonly confused words. I love the last part of the teaching companion, which I'm just going to flip. There's got a glossary of selected literary terms, and it is just many, many pages of all kinds of literary terms here to help you. Then there's a glossary of grammar terms and all those grammar rules to help you understand and remember, refresh your memory on those. Genres of biblical literature. And at the very back, we have our writing strands, scope, and sequence. So there's several pages of this to once again help you as you're working through the series to know what is expected of your student and what they're going to be taught next. Overall, to me, this is a necessary component in order to fully understand how to use the Writing Strands series, how to incorporate the grammar and spelling within that writing week. And then in the literature week, how to help the student not just read the stories that you're assigning to them, but to help them understand the characters and understand the type of literature. But this is for you a great guide as the parent to prepare you and give you the tools you need to explain that fully to your student, all wrapped up in this. And it's not very big, but it gives you a wealth of information in this book right here for Writing Strands. So if you go that route, I definitely recommend getting that Writing Strands teaching companion to help you have what you need to be successful through the Writing Strands series. And that's something that's going to help you as the teacher be successful as well as your student be successful, because you're going to be equipped to explain it all to them as you need to. Then we also have in the back, if you choose our language lessons series, and I'm just holding up, here's language lessons 3, but in the back of language lessons series is a section that many people do miss. The front of the book has an overview of the course and some helps for the teacher and how to use the course. But in the very back of the book is a teacher's aid section. And many people do miss this teacher's aid section. So just to give you an overview here of the teacher's aid section, listing of some things here, there's assessment charts to help you assess your student weekly, monthly, quarterly, on the concepts that are being reviewed and taught through that book. There's an independent reading list for you to keep a track and a record of what they've been reading through the year. There's a recommended book list for the reading. So the student will have some additional independent reading that they're required to do. And so we give you a book list for that, some suggestions. We do recommend that you choose books based upon your student's interest, their reading ability. But if you just want some suggestions and helps with that, we give it to you. Then we have, in the younger years, they will be creating your own dictionary. So we have some blank pages here for you to make copies for the student to create a dictionary. Activities and games. This is a portion that is so helpful when you are working with your student and you need something else to reinforce the concepts of the day, or maybe reinforce your spelling for the week. We give you a list of different activities and games to incorporate to reinforce those grammar concepts and spelling concepts and writing concepts. Then there's spelling practice pages here in the back for you. Spelling list. We have a master spelling list of all of the spelling words throughout the level. Sight words, and there's copy work practice. If you feel like your student just needs some additional writing practice, we have that available. And I'm going to just show you here. I was trying to find that very quickly. Let's see. Pardon me. So here's some copy work practice. And in that copy work practice, you'll notice that some of those are going to be grammar and spelling rules that they have been going over throughout the series that they need to remember there. And then some other things in the back here that I personally love are there going to be some additional practice sheets for the student. There are also some reference sheets for all of the rules that have been taught to them. So I will pull some of these up here. So here is an example of that. Some reference sheets of all the grammar rules that have been taught to them through that level and previous levels. So they can check if they need a quick reference of something they've already previously learned without trying to find it within the book, or you personally want a quick reference of the rules that are being taught to your student, or to go over some grammar rules. The back of the book has those all gathered in one spot for you to be able to see and help your student in the best way. Then in the very back, we have all of those answer keys for you. But this is definitely a teaching companion that you need to take advantage of as well, that's already included within the back of the textbook there with those language lessons series. And that is in all of the language lessons, all the way up to the middle school levels and the high school levels. All of those helps and tips and tricks and additional assignments and game ideas and reinforcement ideas are given to you within the back of that language lessons. Moving on again, so reading list. I briefly mentioned that we have a reading list in the back of each of those language lessons series. Another place that you can find that is if you're on our website, and again, you go to Homeschool Language Arts and you click on any of our language arts books. Let's say if I were to choose, because I was holding it up, I'm just going to go to our Language Lessons 3 product page for you. And when I get to that product page, so I'm going to hold this up. So I'm on the product page, and I can scroll down below the course description, and there's some product attachments here where I can look inside and I can see several pages of that level. But then also, as I keep scrolling down here, there's going to be a link for me to choose that gives me the language lessons reading suggestions and that additional reading list. So it's right here on the product page, right where you have the picture of the book, and then you're going to have the look inside link, and then underneath that you're going to have some other resources linked, and one of those is our new reading list that's going to give you reading suggestions by their age and grade, more by their age, early readers, young readers, and that type of thing, and moving forward into those upper years. So we give you several suggestions there of some options for reading lists. So reading lists in the back of the language lesson series, and reading lists on each language arts product page. It's linked for you there. One of the other things I want to show you as we're talking about reading, and that is a great tool that you can use, and this is more for your upper elementary, middle school, high school students. I mostly use this personally with the high school level because it is reading through Christian classics. So this is our Christian reading companion for 50 classics. Obviously, because it's in the title it's given, but we have 50 classical books listed here and some helps for you. But I want to read something to you that's in the very beginning of this book in the acknowledgments. The very beginning, from the author in his acknowledgement, he says, "Come, let us glorify the Lord and praise his name forever." And he's quoting Psalm 34 verse 3. So right off the, and I have it highlighted here, but right from the beginning, the author's goal is that your student can study through the classics, but then still praise the Lord and glorify his name through what he has learned. Another thing here, very beginning, I have highlighted some things I want to read to you, how to use this book. Things that the authors say. It is wise and judicious for teachers to examine closely the books involved and individualize their selections according to the ability and maturation of their specific students. So it is important that you are picking from these classics for your individual student. Every classic in here is not for every student, but you know your student best, you know your child best, and keep that in mind as you are picking these books on the maturity level. But he goes on to say, for every book title, there is a short description of the book, several objective questions, several vocabulary gleanings from the text, and challenging discussion questions. That's why I love this book, because it lists these 50 classics and then it gives you the tools that you need to present those classics and discuss them with your student, bringing in some biblical worldview and biblical perspective. So you'll have an overview of every book. You'll have some test questions that you could give on every book. Then you'll have some discussion questions. Those discussion questions open the door for that thinking, critical thinking with your student. Those are great for essay questions with your student. And then another thing I want to read here, it says, my prayer is that this book will encourage thoughtful Christians to be taking every thought captive to the gospel, and like the apostles, to be turning the world upside down. So again, the heart behind the author, as he is bringing these classics here for you and helping you work through them with your student with that biblical worldview, is that your student will be able to read them, but then recognize and acknowledge what needs to be pointed out, what needs to be corrected, what needs to be learned, to glorify the Lord and praise his name in our lives, even through our literature. So I'll show you here an example of one of the books here and what is presented and how it is presented with one of these classics. So here we have Jane Eyre. Okay, so Jane Eyre, we have a brief overview of Jane Eyre, but then I'm kind of looking in the back here I'm looking at the answer key, so I don't necessarily want to look at the answer key. So let me go back. Here's another one, Three Musketeers. So here's a brief overview of the Three Musketeers, and then we jump right into the objective test. So questions for your student, and because I was just in the back with the answer key, you know we do have answers for all of these, but some questions for your student, and then the discussion portion. And it goes over to the second page here. This is suggested vocabulary words as well for each course and with each book. And with the vocabulary words, we tell you here exactly which chapter those vocabulary words are from. So you could pick, let's say you're using our Writing Strand series or our language lesson series, and you need to choose additional reading for your student. You can choose one of these 50 classics and use this as your guide, and know that within this reading companion, we're going to have an overview of the book and presenting that to you from a biblical worldview perspective. Then there are going to be questions about that literature for your student, again, coming from that biblical worldview perspective. Then vocabulary words, and we'll list the chapter, some hard words, difficult words, words that might be a first for your student, and you can discuss those vocabulary words with them. And then there's those additional discussion questions, which open the door for conversation and thought between you and your student. And again, bringing in that biblical worldview and studying and analyzing that literature through the lens of that biblical worldview. In the back, we do have all of the answer keys for all of that. But then another thing I want to show you within the back with those reading lists is the book here groups the classics by age. So this page here is for your younger readers and things that are suggested for younger readers. And then over here are your more mature readers. So very helpful. So multiple reading lists that we have available to you as a parent as you are choosing reading for your student. Back of Language Lessons for Living Education, book suggestions. On each language lessons product page, we have reading list suggestions. And then if you decide to use this companion and want to go through the classics, there are reading suggestions by age for these as well. Many, many things that can help you as the parent to be successful with your student as you are teaching them and guiding them through language arts. Many things that are going to help you to ease some of the frustration that you might have with your student, to help you with your understanding, to help give you some extra review, to give you some extra ways to present and go over concepts with your student as you're studying, and then all of these reading helps and tips as well. But again, remember, the very best place to begin is with our placement guide. Let's try to get your student in the correct academic level, as well as the correct series that's going to help them and fit their needs the best. I hope this overall has been helpful for you. I've enjoyed spending some time with you and being able to explain these things, and I hope you enjoy our language arts.